It's over. When it rains, it pours, and for the Chargers, the storm is just getting worse. Joe Alt out for the season. The Chargers offensive line was already in shambles, and now it feels like the season is over before it even began. Joe Hortiz has to make a move before the trade deadline, or else the Chargers are in a world of trouble. What's up, everyone? I'm Sam Peña, a Bolt fan in the Berg for Chargers Digest, where we talk about all things Lightning. This is a tough one to make. This is a video I didn't want to have to make. I came in just hours ago thinking that today's video would be about the Chargers' win over the Titans. I thought it would be mostly positive because it seemed like Alt was only going to be dealing with a minor injury. And then the news came down. Joe Alt suffered a season-ending injury. Now both him and Rashawn Slater won't see the field for the Chargers for the rest of the 2025 season. This is devastating. There's no way around it. So without further ado, let's start talking about it. The news came down this morning that he had another high ankle sprain. At first, it seemed as if it was just going to be an injury that would require a small procedure to keep him out for a few weeks. But literally just a couple hours later, Daniel Popper broke the news that it was a season-ending injury that was going to require surgery, which means the Chargers are now going to be down to their worst possible options on the offensive line. We came into this season saying the offensive line was going to be a problem for the Chargers, but at least they had two great tackles in Rashawn Slater and Joe Alt. Now we're sitting here saying this is the worst offensive line in all of football. And that's a horrifying thought to have when you have one of the five best quarterbacks in football and by all accounts a team that should be competing for a Super Bowl. The Chargers can't have any margin for error on any play. I don't know what else to say. There's nothing else to say. They're down to Bobby Hart, who also suffered an injury against the Titans yesterday, and Trey Pipkins as their best tackles. This is not a situation you want to be in. The Chargers are going to have to do some shopping here. Joe Alt's impact on the game can't be overstated. These are the numbers that we have for him right now. In the 5 games that he's played, he only gave up 1 sack and 5 pressures. He had the 6th highest grade amongst pass blockers, and he had the 5th highest pass rush win rate. He was just consistently dominant in every single game. The Chargers only lost 1 game where he touched the field, and that 1 game was the game that he left partway through. And then in the other games that he hasn't played, they're 1-3, and they average 6.5 fewer points per game. Herbert under the Chargers is already averaging the lowest time to throw of any quarterback in the league and is the most pressured quarterback in the league, and that's just about to get worse. When you look at the pass blocking grades this past week against the Titans didn't have their best pass rusher. Jeffrey Simmons was out of that game, and they were still consistently able to get after Herbert, harassing him all game long, and that was even with Alt in the lineup. Now, without him, it feels like it's just going to be a turnstile the rest of the season. We already knew, according to Diana Rossini, that the reports are that the Chargers were shopping for offensive linemen ahead of the trade deadline. Well, now it's no longer them potentially looking at options. It's a necessity. If Joe Hortiz does not make a move at the deadline to get at least one offensive lineman, this is borderline malpractice on the part of your GM. We already thought it was a mistake that he didn't sign many offensive linemen in free agency. We already thought it was a mistake that he didn't draft an offensive lineman until the 6th round this year. But now, if he doesn't make a move to get an offensive lineman for Herbert at the deadline, I don't know what else we can say at this point. That's an indefensible move by the general manager. Justin Herbert is on the trajectory of Andrew Luck, who, remind you, quit because he was getting hit too much. Herbert is getting hit even more than Andrew Luck. Herbert is also someone who has other options out there. He doesn't have to play football if he doesn't want to. I hope he continues to keep playing for the Bolts, and I hope Hortiz makes the right move. What are those moves that could possibly be made at this point? Right now, we know that the Commanders seem to be sellers at the deadline. According to a report from Jordan Schultz, it seems like they're having both Andrew Wiley and Nick Allegretti up for potential trade. I'm not in love with either one of those options. I think Wiley is probably the better one of the two. He has some flexibility, having played both tackle and guard throughout his career, which is something the Chargers need given all the injuries they have. His overall grade isn't impressive this season. He does seem to be a solid pass protector, which I think is all the Chargers can ask for at this point. If they can put somebody in there who will at the very least just be an obstacle in the way of a pass rusher at this point. Wiley is someone who doesn't have the best technique in the world, but he does have experience and he has decent athleticism. I think the Chargers could trade for him and plug him in the lineup pretty quickly. I think the other option out there is Evan Neal. This one is a potential big swing and a big miss or a big hit. Evan Neal is a former first-round pick, a tackle out of Alabama. He was someone who a lot of people had high hopes on, but he went to the Giants and just never was able to put it together. The Giants converted him to a guard last year. He hasn't started this season. He only played limited snaps in the preseason, but he did look decent in those limited snaps. When you look at last year, his grade, he was awful in pass protection, but he actually was a really good run blocker. Maybe that can bring a little bit of heat off of Herbert if they can build the running game a little bit more. That's what I'm thinking Greg Roman might be doing in the next few weeks, is trying to lean on the running game a little bit more and a lot more of those quick pass sets. We did start to see that a little bit against the Titans. He had Gadsden and he had the running backs consistently chipping on the edges, trying to just buy tenths of a second there for Herbert. Still really didn't matter. The Titans got after him all game long. But if you can bring in somebody who can just be a little bit higher of a replacement player than what they've had, I think it's a move that you have to make. But with that out of the way, I do want to talk about some positive things out of this game. And I think one thing that is positive that we can take away from this game is the defensive improvements up front. But I would be remiss if I didn't mention the tragedy that happened this past weekend to Daiyan Henley. Daiyan Henley, as you all know, has been a favorite player of mine. He's someone who's been a very good player for the Chargers this season. He's dealt with a lot this year. He was obviously sick very early on in the year. He dealt with some minor injuries. His dad this offseason was arrested and is facing some major indictments that could put him in jail for a long time. And then the news broke that on Friday night, Daiyan Henley's brother was shot and killed. Henley found out about it at 6 in the morning the next day. A lot of us were thinking he wasn't even going to play, and no one could blame him if he didn't play. But the Chargers said that they rallied around him. They were able to show him a lot of love. In fact, Elijah Molden was quoted as saying, "This game was for him. He's got a lot of brothers in this locker room." He wasn't the only one who was talking about just the presence that the team had around Henley. Daiyan himself said that he's felt like he's losing a lot of his family, and it's been a lot this season. But he thanked Navarro Bowman, the linebackers coach, and Denzel Perryman for the support that they gave him. Daiyan Henley is someone who has an infectious energy for this team. He's a team captain for a reason. So seeing him go out there and gut out this game despite that heavy heart is something that I think all Chargers fans should be grateful for. And I know he didn't grade well according to some of the analytics metrics, but he did make a couple of big plays for the Chargers, including a big sack, which you see here in this photo. As soon as he did, he knelt down and he said a little prayer. Our hearts are with Daiyan. Chargers fans, if you can, please show him all the love that you can. This is someone who is deserving not just of our praise and our respect, but he's someone who's also deserving of our sympathies as well. Daiyan, we appreciate everything that you do for the team, and we hope to see your great play continue with us. And even if it doesn't, you're a Charger for life, my friend, and we'll always appreciate everything that you have done for this team. Moving on a little bit, though, talking about some of the other positives for the team, I do think we saw some improvements to the Chargers defense, specifically in the run defense. In the first half of that game, they gave up 9 carries, 58 yards. That's 6.2 yards per carry. But then they locked in the second half, only gave up 10 carries for 32 yards, less than half of what they were giving up in the first half. This is a positive development for a team that has struggled to be able to defend the run in recent weeks. I think a lot of this is the return of Khalil Mack being able to set that hard edge and be able to force those runs back inside to our very good interior defensive linemen and Tier Tart, Tito Agbanio, and even Justin Herbert, who played pretty well for the Chargers yesterday. When you look at the overall grades for this team, Troy Dye had a very good game. The biggest shout out, though, has to go to Odafe Owe. He was someone who we didn't really know what we were going to get out of him. We thought he would be something of a pass rush presence, and boy, has he ever delivered on that. He didn't have a sack through the first half of the season with the Ravens. He comes to the Chargers in 3 games with the Chargers. He has 12 pressures, 4 sacks, and a quarterback hit. He is someone who is proving right now that he might have earned a contract extension for this team. I think the Chargers are going to have to think about it if this play continues. Being able to pair him with Tui Pelotu and continue to learn under Mac would be a major dividend for the Chargers. I think there's a lot of positives to take away from this game on the defensive side of the football. This game, honestly, was not that close. Like, I know it looks close because it was a 27-20 final, but the Chargers defense didn't give up a single touchdown. In fact, the only touchdowns on the day were the pick 6 by Herbert on the second play of the game and a punt return touchdown. You take both of those away, the Chargers would have won this game almost 30 points to 6. Like, this was a huge game for the Chargers in terms of overall play. There's just a few little things they have to clean up, specifically on the special teams side. They have to figure out what's going on there. Ryan Ficken seems to have kind of lost this group. I hope he can kind of get them back in order at some point, or if not, this could be a very, very long season. It's very easy to sit here and say doom and gloom. I mean, heck, the title of this video is It's Over. And it definitely feels that way, especially with the Steelers on board this next week. TJ Watt is, I'm sure, licking his chops when it comes to this Chargers offensive line. But if there is any hope for this team, it's the same hope that we've had for the past 5 years. It's 10. He is someone who has shown that he can weather any storm and still play at an elite level. It hasn't always led to wins, but it has led to a lot of memorable moments. And even though the season may be over for the Bolts, I'm still excited to see what memories 10 might create the rest of the way. Thank you all again so much for watching. I'm Sam Peña with Chargers Digest. Would love it if you guys could like and subscribe. We're trying to build this channel here from the ground up. And who knows? There's a lot of football left to be played. Here's to hoping that the Chargers can deliver some great games for us. Until next time, Bolt Nation, remember, Bolts up.